Hey guys, okay, so it's Nets. Welcome back to my channel, and before we get into this story time, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Comment say there if you don't want to start the story yet. Remember to subscribe, guys, because I'm on my way to 5,000 subscribers, and I'm currently at 4,300. But we're on our way there regardless. Cool. As usual, girl look pretty and clean on your phone screen. Even though my edges aren't done, and all I did before this video is put on some lip gloss. Okay, cool. So let's get into the video. Okay guys, so as you can see from the title of this video, I will be talking about PCOS, right? Because it's PCOS Awareness Month, firstly, and because I also struggle with PCOS, so I'm just sharing my story with you guys. It's a very hard story for me to share because when I was diagnosed with it, I've had bad experiences with telling people. However, I did an Instagram live last night about PCOS and PCOS awareness, and a lot of women have been messaging me saying that they too have PCOS and they're happy that I spoke about it, and they are also happy that they don't feel alone, because a lot of women thought that they were the only ones who struggle with it. And I even saw a girl say she thought she was the only person in Jamaica who had it, and I felt like, me coming out of the darkness about it, because it's not something that I, readily share or tell people like that. So I was trying to save the Instagram live to upload it on YouTube. However, after time and time again of trying, it did not save to my phone. So I just said I'm just gonna record a new video and tell the story again, because the more you tell it, the stronger you get. Alright, cool. So I'm going to be reading like a few stuff off my phone as well about PCOS. Cool. So some people call it Pcos. I said PCOS because that's how it was introduced to me and I carried it. So it is Polycystic Ovary Syndrome. So polycystic means many cysts. So cysts grow on your ovaries. It starts during your reproductive age, right? So anytime you hit puberty, that's when you can start noticing the differences. And you don't necessarily have to have a cyst to have PCOS. However, it's one of the main symptoms. So there are 3 symptoms, and one is the cyst on the ovaries, excess male testosterone. Well, testosterone is male, but yeah, and irregular periods. Cool, guys. It's kind of hard for me to talk about, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Yeah, so your estrogen levels are low, and you have cysts on your ovaries, and you have irregular periods. Those are the 3 main identifiers of it. But women can have regular periods and get PCOS. Women can develop PCOS on the way. And as time goes by, there are new information about PCOS. I personally never tried to learn anything about PCOS until this year, because I just wanted to put it far out of my mind. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to live my life and go. Cool. So PCOS affects every 1 in 10 women, and about 50 to 70% of women who have PCOS go undiagnosed because they just don't know what it is, and they just don't know that they have it. So other symptoms that you can have if you have PCOS are darkening of the skin. So like a lot of women have like darker skin on the hair, and like people be insensitive and be like, oh, them just not wash them neck good with them bathe, but that's not the case. You don't know about people's health. You can have excess body hair. So like some women grow hair on their tummies, hair on them chests, they grow hair on them chin, like facial hair. And I used to think that, like growing up, I used to think that my PCOS was the cause of my voice like being raspy or like being deep. And I used to feel that way when people used to call me a man, because I was struggling with something that, you know, made me think that I was maybe I'm a man because I don't have enough estrogen. I'm not producing enough estrogen as I should. And like people calling me a man because of my voice just kind of triggered me the wrong way, because I'm still a woman and I'm not less of a woman because I have PCOS. Cool. So yeah, so obviously in terms of like acne, mood swings, the mood swings are terrible. And guys, I just found out that my anxiety isn't from being at home and like not knowing what's coming, but I've always been anxious growing up, but like staying inside has caused me for it to deepen and like, you know, get more out of my control. But I've always been anxious for most of my life, right? And I realized that it was because of the PCOS why I was anxious, because it does trigger depression and anxiety. So, you know, the more you know, there are different types of PCOS. Like you can, genes, it's genetic. I'm not sure how that one works as yet, but I'm still reading up about it. You have post-pill PCOS, so like you take birth control and you develop PCOS from that. You have inflammation PCOS, and you have, I think it's called hidden cause PCOS. There are about 4 of them. Cool. And you know, I think that PCOS is not something that was well talked about before, and people are becoming aware of it now, which is what I'm happy for. And I'm happy, sorry, my phone is on. Yeah, and I'm happy that I can be one of those people who are currently in the know and not push back this part of my life and share it with you guys, be more informed. And I feel like, because information is always going to be changing over time, so I feel like a lot of people should take the time out to stay informed about PCOS. So if you have a loved one who struggles with PCOS, or if you struggle with PCOS yourself, then I believe that it is very helpful to read up on it. You can talk to your gynecologist about it, and just like you can even talk to your GP, because my GP was the one who told me that I had PCOS. So you can treat it, but it's not something that goes away. It stays with you, but you can, you know, manage it. And I'll tell you guys how I managed mine, and yeah, just my account of the story. When I was in high school, I saw my period in 4th form 2 times for the year, right? And like me not seeing my period, it was like something that was okay for me, because how I hear my other friends talk about periods, I'm like, I would never want to experience this, because this is just not my cup of tea. Cool. And whenever like I went to my period, it comes like 3 days, then it done, and I'm like, yeah, and it's really light. But the thing about my period is that I don't know when it's coming, so like I just let it chill and it just appears. And I didn't like that part about it, that I didn't get any symptoms or anything. But as I say, you know, that's fine. Just I live, just a walk. Just I go chew something spark, and I'm leaving it there. And then I decided that I was going to like have sex for the first time. And when I did, it was like uncomfortably painful. Like I know it's supposed to be painful, but like this was different. But I was like, this is the worst ever pain, and I'm never gonna like have sex again in my life. And I did keep that promise to myself for a good while. Cool. There's an ambulance outside. Anyway, so I didn't think much of it, like me seeing my period like 2 times a year, and like this being the most painful experience in my life, because I was saying to myself that I'm just probably hitting puberty late. Because guys, I did experience puberty late. I grew breasts like later in high school, and a few people used to call me Nana Breast Mundell, and I'm just like, okay, so Nana Breast, and I'm not in a period, so I mean I'm fine. But I have a few cousins who hit puberty late, like especially one of my cousins in particular. She was sharing that, you know, she hit puberty when she was like 16, whatever. So I felt like it was just a family thing. Cool. So moving on, I was talking to my stepmother one day, and we were talking, ended up telling her that I don't really like see my period, and she was like, what do you mean? Because at the time when I was telling her, I was on my period, and guys, it was the most painful period I've ever experienced. Like, because I wasn't bleeding in months, right? When I did bleed, it was dreadful. I remember this exact period because it was the first time I was feeling like that amount of cramps. Like, my lay down, my auntie couch was at my auntie house, my park up, my period was heavy, and I was just in complete distress. And then I was like, all right, cool, no problem. This is definitely fine. This will go, you know, blow over. So like the first 2 or 3 days, I did good. I mean, did bad, right? It was bad. And then after that, it was good. So it lasted 7 days. Talking to my stepmother, and my stepmother was like, you know that seeing a period twice a year is not normal, because no, you are 16 going on to 17, and you know your period should have regulated even if you hit puberty at 16, stuff like that. And she told my dad that he should take me to the doctor because I may have hormonal imbalance. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but yeah. So my dad was like, okay, let's go to the doctor. Went to the doctor, no, and my stepmother came in the room with me, and we were talking to him, and you know, she was just sitting there for moral support, and he told me to go on the bed and lift up my shirt, and I did, and like him pressed down on my stomach, but like when he reached over to the right side and he pressed down, it was so painful, and I was like, this is the pain I remember the first time I did the intercourse, and I was like, this is so painful. And he was like, well, I could be wrong, but you may have PCOS. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, it's not life-threatening, but it's polycystic ovary syndrome. But he said that he doesn't want to, you know, be rash and make the decision. So he's gonna send me to the lab to do some tests, a blood work. And then I have to do an ultrasound to look at my ovaries to make sure it is it. Went to the lab now, and the lady pricked me with this big needle. And guys, you know I don't like needles. If you can look at any of my other story times about needles, and that's it. So she pricked me with the needle, took out the blood, and they were testing for everything. And you see, because my doctor still wasn't aware what it was, those couple of days when I was waiting on the test, it was some of the worst days of my life, because I was just in a panic and I am falling apart, period. Because what is wrong with me? First of all, me just turned 17, and this don't look good for a 17-year-old girl, and my life was just gonna end. Cool. So they're doing the blood work, and because of like the anxiety that I was getting from not knowing what I had, I developed eating disorder. So I stopped eating, and I just got really, really skinny. And if I did eat, it was like small stuff, and I just feel like I want to take it all back, right? And so the blood work came back, and they were saying that my body isn't producing enough estrogen, and it's producing more testosterone and stuff like that. And I was like, Chano, this is so sad. Like, this is also sad, and I just want ball. And I went to do the ultrasound, right? Went to do the ultrasound, and the lady put the gel on my stomach, but she couldn't see anything. Cool. She couldn't see anything, so she was like to me, I have to go inside you to see. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, because I can't see the ovaries from the stomach view, or the pelvic view, sorry. Then I have to go inside. So now, guys, you know, in ultrasound they put the gel, and then, you know, so she had this stick. So she was like, are you a virgin? And I made the worst mistake of my life and told her, yes, I am a virgin. So now, guys, this is where the story gets complicated. So she was like, okay, so since you're a virgin, I don't want to break your hymen, so I have to put the stick up your butt. And I said, what? And she was like, yeah, I have to put it in your butt because I don't want to break your hymen. That's a little bit weird. And I was like, nah, that's okay. I'm like, you know, I'm not a virgin. And then she was like, so why did you lie to me? And I said, because I don't want you to tell my father, and my father is right there, and I don't want him to know, because if you go tell my father, then I don't have anywhere to live. And it's just like really simple maths. Like, the maths don't hard. So that is exactly why I lied. And she's like, you don't have to lie to me. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I don't have to lie to you. But I kind of already did, and I'm not a virgin. I had sex one time. So if you can just use that stick and put it up in my vajayjay, I would appreciate it, because nothing is going in my butt right now. Cool. And then she was like, okay, no problem. So she put the gel on the stick, then she put it inside me, and she was using the stick to look at my ovary. So then she was digging this way, digging that way, and guys, it was so painful. I literally went into like shock. I was frightened, and she doing it all over, and I was like, this is exactly what sex had felt like. Anyway, so then she was doing it, and it was like, it lasted for like 15 to 20 minutes of her like maneuvering in my insides, and I just wanted to bawl because it was so painful. So she finally removed it, and she was like, well, I see that you have polycystic ovary syndrome. And I was like, okay, cool. So what I mean, but she's like, one of his cysts is leaking. So that's why it was like really painful for me, because one of the cysts, I had two cysts. So one on my left ovary, one on my right ovary, but the one on my right was leaking. So that's why it was so painful. And, you know, I went back to the doctor. And guys, at this point, I was really, really sad, because my doctors, the blood works, and the ultrasound is telling me that I have PCOS, and this is my first time hearing about it. I've never heard anybody else with this. I've never heard of it before, and me feel like I'm bringing it in Jamaica. Made it feel like I'm bringing it in, and I was so sad. Like, made it a ball, and I was like, this is not it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went back to the doctor now after doing all of these works, and my doctor was telling me that, you know, you do have PCOS, and, you know, don't worry, it is treatable, and I think it can be managed, and you can get a regular period and live a regular life, everything. But he was saying that with PCOS now, it is harder for me. It would be harder for me to get pregnant if I wanted to have kids and stuff like that. And guys, let me tell you, as much as I run jokes about like F them kids and stuff like that, I really, really wanted children. I grew up with the idea of saying, oh yeah man, I'm gonna have this amount of kids, and I picked out my kids' names and their middle names and everything, and I even picked out them last name, guys, and I didn't even know the man that I was gonna like have children with or anything. And so for the doctor to tell me that I might not have kids, it was like so devastating, and I really, really wanted to cry, because I was like, oh my God, those times I spent writing down the names of my children really blew up in my face. It went to naught, because no, I'm not gonna have any kids. So like a lot of times when I'm like, oh, F them kids, I feel like I want to cry. I'm not bad. I'm like, oh, F them kids, it's a coping mechanism, because I don't know if there can be any kids. At the point, I didn't know if there, you know, can be any kids. So moving on, my doctor was like, okay, so we're going to put you on some birth control, we're going to change your diet, and you are going to exercise, because it can be managed by your lifestyle, because they believe that how I was eating is what caused my PCOS. Right? So like eating a lot of junk food, eating all the carbs, a lot of the sugars as I was taking in, and everything. So I had to switch up my whole diet, go to a dietitian, Um, I had to exercise 3 times a week for 30 minutes, and that's what a lot of women with PCOS do as well, to regulate their symptoms and, you know, well, improve them symptoms and regulate them, period, right? And yeah, so after all of that, now my doctor gave me Miniganon. He prescribed me Miniganon. He said, take it for 6 months, exercise for 6 months, diet for 6 months, and then come back to me and let me know how you feel. Now guys, remember that I'm the first person I know with this, and you know, I'm gonna share the news with my friends. And this reason that I'm gonna get into now is why I stopped talking about PCOS with other people, right? But before I get into that, another thing the doctor had told me is that if by the time my cysts haven't like left or fallen off by themselves, then I can do surgery to remove them. Cool? And so I was like, no surgery, just the pills, everything. And I was like, okay, no surgery, because I don't really know anybody tamper with my ovaries like that, because I have a less % chance of having kids already. I really can't give it a full 100%. Cool? Moving on. So I went back home and I'm texting my friends and I'm saying to my friends that, hey, I have PCOS. And like in my friendship group chat at the time, they were like, oh, John, that rough. And I'm like, yeah, but none of my other friends had it and they don't know about it. So they really couldn't say anything, and they didn't even get informed about it, because I mean, it's really not their problem. So them just leave it alone. But 2 instances that stood out for me was I was talking to this guy at the time, and I was telling him, sharing it with him, and I was saying to him that, hey, you know, I went to the doctor, and like after all these tests and stuff, they told me that I have PCOS. And then he's like, ew. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, that's like, you're sick. And then he's like, can I catch it? And I said to him, no, you can't, because it have something to do with my ovaries. And he's like, oh, your ovaries are sick. And then he starts going off about him don't want me to touch him, and he doesn't want to come near me because I'm sick. And I was just like, this is not the reaction I was expecting. However, I'm just gonna leave it alone, and I never spoke to that guy after that day. It still hurt my feelings, but I mean, I guess that's just a part of life. And then after that, I told one of my other friends at the time, and me and this girl were friends for as long as I could remember. We're not friends anymore. Let me just put that out there before I say it. And she looked at me and she started, no, when I said texted it to her, she starts putting a bag of laughing face emoji. So then I'm like, why are you laughing, sis? Like, why are you laughing? And she's like, it's just so funny that this happened to you. And I'm like, it's not funny that this happened to me. I'm sharing something with you and you decided to laugh about it. And she was like, yeah, it just means that you're a mule. And guys, that word, I hate that word. The word mule that Jamaicans use to women when they can't have kids, I do not like that word. If I say that word right now, I would just run and cry. But the fact that my friend said that to me, I cried, and I was bawling and bawling and bawling. And like sometimes, from time to time, it does come across my mind, and I do feel bad, but it's not as bad as it was a couple years ago. And after that, I decided that I will just continue my PCOS by myself, and I will never tell anybody of this again. And I will just move on and do what I have to do until this is done. And after that whole thing and me crying and feeling like dirt, I took the pills, and exercise and everything, and my period regulated. I saw my period for like 9 months straight. And now guys, me seeing my period for 9 months is actually like a miracle, like back to back. And so after 6 months, I decided to stop taking the pills. I really stopped taking the pills, guys, because birth control has such negative side effects on you as a person that it is so bad. I'm usually a happy-go-lucky person, but when I take birth control, guys, the pills I take, they cause depression, right? And sometimes I'd be so sad that I'm looking at life just like, what may I do so? And guys, I'm so sad that sometimes I'm just sit down and I'll just cry, and it's out of nowhere. Nobody really knows what I'm going through because I'm not telling anybody anything. I'm just feeding myself on these pills. I'm just move on with life. And I decided that enough is enough, because when I'm not on the pills, guys, I notice a major difference. And I said, no man, this can't work. And then I gain a lot of weight when I'm on birth control. And then I'm very moody because it gives you a lot of mood swings. And like, I just don't think that the side effects of it are worth it for me. And I decided that I made a decision that I was gonna live without my period, because if the birth control is doing this and it's supposed to be helping me, I don't think that it's worth having a period every month. So you see guys, when I wasn't taking the pills and when my period was ready to come, it was the most painful thing ever, because you know you're supposed to bleed, like you're not supposed to pass 3 months without bleeding, because the lining in your womb is supposed to shed every month. Cool. And because I wasn't shedding every month, when my period did come, it was so heavy and I had so much cramps, because it is literally like taking such a huge toll on me. And I had a boyfriend at the time and I was experiencing most of these painful periods, and he would come over and spend most of my period time with me. He would bring me comfort food. I would be sitting down and he's massaging my feet, and sometimes I'm on the floor in the bathroom crying and he is on the floor with me, sitting down same way, rubbing my feet, and I'm just so inconsolable because I'm like, this cannot be worth it. And I decided that I was going to start working out, and that's what really helped for me, because working out helps my anxiety overall, and it also helps with my PCOS. Now, the only thing I've managed to maintain consistently for the 6 years is the dieting and how I eat, because I cut out a lot of carbs. And when I get strict on cutting out my carbs, because I say, okay, my period have to come now, I do it. But exercising, when I was going to the gym consistently, I saw my period all the time, like without taking any pills, without feeling sad, without my anxiety bothering me. I saw my period all the time, and I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And I saw a tweet where this girl said that her doctor told her she was infertile due to her PCOS, and she had a kid. And it was one of the best tweets I've seen in a long time. It made me smile. I think about it almost every night, because it gives me a lot of hope that maybe down the line I will have some children. The cysts that they found initially, they have fallen off by themselves. However, I've grown a new one since this year, actually. Well, I grew a new one last year, but I just found out about it in January. And you know, I've been treating it, and so going to the gynecologist and everything, but what works for me may not work for other people, because everybody's body is different, everybody have a different type of PCOS. But what I found to really work, if you don't want to take any pills, then the dieting and the exercising really helps. And it's just 30 minutes for 3 times a week. You don't have to push yourself all the time. But I worked out every day because I enjoyed working out. So I really push myself to work out every day, and I jog and stuff like that, which I'm gonna start resuming now because PCOS also makes you gain a lot of weight, and I have gained 20 pounds. Not 20, sorry, 15 pounds since being inside. Yeah, man, may I eat and may I snack and stuff like that, but you know, I still don't openly talk about PCOS, sorry, with people because of the reactions I got before. My current friends don't really know the story about it, but I mentioned it to them once, and they're very concerned, and they are aware about it because I have it, and they don't make me feel bad for having it, and they don't make me feel less of a woman that they are for not having it and stuff like that. And I'm very grateful that I have that kind of support in my life. A lot of my other friends and my family, especially my sister, didn't know my struggles with PCOS because it was always like a silent struggle and a silent you know, fight with myself. However, I am speaking up for not only for myself but for others to be educated, and I'm also sharing my story for women to feel that, well, for women to know that they're not alone in this journey. I am here for you guys. You can always reach out to me to have conversations when you're feeling down, because I know how sad it can get because the mood swings are so bad. But I just want you guys to know that you guys are all warriors, and I am proud of everybody with PCOS or no PCOS. But I'm proud of all my women, and you guys know that I love women. I'm every woman. It's all in me. I don't know. I don't think that's how the song goes. I feel so. But I just don't want women to live with this by themselves, because it's something that affects more women than you think, and it is more common than you think. So you can reach out to just somebody who you trust to talk to. You can reach out to your gynecologist, can talk to your doctors, you can talk to a therapist, you know. But I don't think that this is something that you should struggle with alone. If you choose to struggle with it alone, fine, but take it from me, I've been hiding it for 5 years and some months, and knowing that other people are reaching out to me feels good, because it's not overwhelming, but at the same time it is appreciated. And there are support groups that you can also join for PCOS to learn from other women who live with it, and there are pages that you can visit to learn how to treat and manage it. But I feel like the best way to treat and manage is to talk to your gynae. I was gonna say OBGYN. Oh yeah, I said it. But that's my story, guys, and thank you for watching, thank you for listening. I'm sharing my story because I want all my PCOS warriors to know that they are not alone, and you are strong. Yeah, okay. So guys, remember to comment below and just let me know any questions you have. I'll be there to answer. If you don't want to comment publicly, you can send me a DM on Instagram at netjenna. I'm here for you guys all the time, and thank you for being here for me and supporting me. Bye.